always makes her favorite family recipe at every event. And naturally, the pork loin dish is a favorite at every gathering. Sorry, Tim.
Some reason that pork loin.
Couldn't help myself. One day, a close friend wants to learn how to make the dish, so she lets him watch it as she prepares the loin. And Tim notices that just before she puts the loin in the oven, she cuts off 2 inches on each side. And so he asks her, well, why would you cut off good meat? I mean, right? I'm sorry, Tim, I couldn't help it. So she decides, out of curiosity, she decides to give her mother a call. She calls her mom, and her mother tells her, well, honey, I cut off 2 inches on each side because our pot wasn't big enough. So growing up, she had seen someone else do it, and she applied it to her situation, even though it didn't work for her. And she mimicked that behavior. And how many of us are guilty of a similar thing? We grew up and saw that, and we copied that, even though it doesn't apply to us. What it points out is that during our upbringing, we were force-fed beliefs for our own good. We mentally accepted the beliefs, and they became inner agreements. The most relevant one I could think of would be never talk to strangers. When we were growing up, that was a necessary practice, right? For our own safety. So we agreed to fear strangers. I mean, what are other ideals that you guys can think of that contributed to a fear of rejection?
Don't knock the door on Sunday because it's a family time.
It's family time, so that might create a fear of rejection on that day.
Your dating experiences.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk for the rest of the time about my dating experiences. Okay, so look. Well, today we're going to make 4 new agreements with ourselves that, if earnestly adopted, will free us from those 1,000 screaming voices. The first agreement, don't make assumptions. I can't even tell you how many times I've walked up to the door assuming that I'm going to be rejected. Isn't that the worst possible mindset for a salesperson? They open the door, and they may even be receptive to you. But you shoot yourself down before even giving them a chance to let you know what their intentions are. What amazes me about our assumptions is we believe they're true. Isn't that the funniest thing? We believe our assumptions are true. And I think what's ironic about that is if we convince ourselves of the validity of our assumptions, why is it that we never think that the prospects are standing behind the door waiting for us? It's always for the worst. Obviously, that's unrealistic, and that goes back to why you shouldn't even make assumptions at all. You're just setting yourself up for devastation when you realize it's not the case. This can be really tough for us because we just have this need to know. But if you can just admit that you truly don't know and approach with a fresh mentality that's void of contempt, your sales game will markedly improve. When you have the willingness to forget your past experiences and deal with this prospect's individual and unique concerns, they will express more responsiveness to you. Most of the time, we assume that people see the world and its problems the same way that we do. And that's why it's so vital for us to really listen to the prospect's point of view. Because when we understand their underlying concerns, that gives us the opportunity to, 1, empathize with their situation and what they're going through. And 2, reassure them on how we can serve them to resolve those concerns. Something that I learned from that job I had spoke about earlier, where I grabbed the bonus and ran, is something, and you should definitely write this down because I use this all the time. AER. Simple to remember. AER. Acknowledge, empathize, reassure. Anytime you're faced with a complaint or a problem, a concern, acknowledge it. You know, I understand what you're going through. Empathize with the situation. You know, I've shared similar experiences in my past. And reassure them what their options are, what you can do to help them. I use that at the door all the time. And I really think that the key to the door is, or at the door, is to just keep them talking. Keep them talking. Ask questions. It doesn't have to be about real estate, but the fact is that if you keep them talking, they're going to reveal a pain to you, and that's your opportunity to AER and to build that relationship so that they can understand what services you provide to help them with that. Our clients wouldn't be happy with us if we just assumed that we knew what was best for them. They have to know that you know what their priorities are. Just this one agreement has the power to change your life. Number 2, never take anything personally. Earlier we had discussed how we sometimes assume that people see problems the same way we do. And that ties into this agreement. Gandhi tells us that with any situation there are 7 different ways to perceive it, or 7 different points of view.
Keep in mind though, Gandhi didn't eat pork loin.
Oh, no. It was no match for you, Tim. Fact is we have no control over how a prospect will respond to our offer. We can influence them with our presentation, but their reaction will be based on so many variables that at times the sales call can go awry. That's okay. It's happened to everyone who's spent any kind of day prospecting. We have to learn to separate ourselves from the service. And there's a funny aphorism that goes, at 20, you worry about what people are thinking about you. At 40, you don't care what people are thinking about you. And at 60, you realize no one was thinking about you.
What about 80?
You're done for, I'm sorry. Just kidding, Dave. It goes to show that many times we just take ourselves too seriously, don't we? And those around us are just as much concerned with themselves as we are. When you take it personally, when the prospects are rude, you place your personal importance higher than everything else. Higher than your wanting to make money. It's higher than everything when you take it personally when the prospects are rude to you. Don Miguel describes this as the maximum expression of selfishness because we assume everything is about us. Understand that they're upset about a situation. In this case, what's today's market dominated by? Short sales. We already know the majority of their pain points out there, and we can already gear our presentation to deal with that pain. And a lot of them are upset about that situation, and they can be difficult to talk to at times. And this is something that is extremely important. All of the sadness and drama you experienced while prospecting was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Take a moment to really digest that. All of the sadness and drama you experienced while prospecting was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. The third agreement is be impeccable with your word. This is the most difficult agreement. And to understand it, let's define the word impeccable. It literally means without sin. And I'm not here to preach religious texts, but let's just take that term sin and apply it to any time we were to cause mental or emotional harm. Our business is literally built on our word. Choose to be impeccable with it. The clients need to have faith in the integrity of our word. And we maintain that integrity by never using the word against ourselves. I said earlier how expecting rejection is the worst mindset for us. That's exactly how we use the word against ourselves. We mentally reinforce our doubts over and over. Excuse me. If you have built up fear in any aspect of your sales game, that can be cured with the word. By creating and reaffirming an idea of yourself. I use affirmations all the time when I'm out door knocking. Webster's dictionary exemplifies the power of the word when it defines sales. The act of exchanging hot air for cold cash. I don't think that's for Webster's. But it's through our word that we manifest the results in our business. If we choose to ignore this agreement, then we will create mental and emotional suffering, which will undoubtedly lead to sales suffering. The final and fourth agreement is something we've heard our whole lives and can sound so cliche, but the fourth agreement is always do your best. We have to keep in mind that we're going to fail with these agreements on some level every day, and that's okay. But just promising yourself that you're going to continue to practice this will alone ensure your continued improvement with prospecting. Some days you may feel sick, depressed, or hurt. That's okay. just get out there and hit those doors, even if the act of lifting your arm to knock on the door is your best. Because if you keep your numbers up, you will see results. Fact is, you're not going to be on your A game every day. It's not going to happen. But you still got to get out there and make it happen. And I want to reiterate that the greatest salespeople are out there every day regardless, rain or shine, or how they're feeling. They're still talking to people, still making contacts. And at the end of the day, if you know you did your best with what you had, then guilt-free, you can turn off that switch and thoroughly enjoy your personal life. And use that time to reach balance. And that will grant you even more for your next day, for your best. Consistently practicing this will improve your ability to handle prospecting. And once again, it will improve your ability to handle prospecting. And Webster's defines ability as what it takes to get to the top if the boss has no daughter. I got it from you. Wow, Webster's is really on it. These 4 agreements had a profound and liberating effect in my life, and I hope that this was insightful for you and maybe provided a unique approach to conquering that fear of rejection. And please remember that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. And so let's never forget that some will, some won't, so what? Next, let's go prospecting.
Tremendous amount of content and a great deal of preparation. Some thoughts expressed. Nobody governs my behavior but myself. A very valid point. And nothing happens until someone sells something. And I love that corner. It's either flight or fight. You choose to fight. And just beautiful expressions and well communicated and practiced. Now, you want to give this book to someone?
You decide, Bruce.
I think Tim.
Oh, yeah, you need it.
I thought I needed a bigger pot to cook up the pork.
Yeah, you can't waste that good meat, man.
Have you had a meal at this house?
I have not. When are you going to invite me?
How about, do you want to come over tonight?
See how it is?
It takes 4 hours to prepare the meal, and he's totally inebriated by the time it's served.
I believe
who was a guest this morning? Come on back here, you gentleman with the hat on. You've got this book. Now, your job is to make a presentation from the content of this book to the next meeting.